Okay, so I promised in the first video that I would show you the basis of box modelling on here. I'm just going to do a very simple starter to keep the time short. So, got this pictorial imported, just going to start with a box. So on the create menu, it's create cube. It's going to create a very large cube which is way out of proportion. So I'm on the scale gizmo, I'm going to scale it down till it just about fits a body. Okay, so that's somewhere around there. Now in the polygon mode, I'm just going to move some of these polys around so it fits her a little bit better. There we go. This is just to get some shape. Now I want to move some lines now to take it out of the box shape. And that's more or less it for the first part. Now that's stage one. We need some more geometry now. So I'm going to select a ring around here, or a loop rather, and hit X to add a line there. And then again it's moving that around so it fits a little bit better. Obviously the more geometry you have, the more needs to be moved. It's one of the reasons keep it as low as possible, because the more geometry you have, the harder it is to keep consistent. Okay. Now I'm not going to need the top or the bottom polygons, so I'm going to delete those out. But I do want another line down the centre, so I'm going to select both those polygons and press X, and then the same down the back, and then up the sides. It's given us plenty of geometry now to work with. We can really start to shape. Now going into vertex mode, we can start moving those around, but I just want to turn symmetry on first to make sure that I don't have to do things twice. So just modify mirroring symmetry on. Grab me vertex tool. I'm just going to shape this in so it's closer to her body. Now, as you can see, this is going to cut through at the moment, because there's not nearly enough geometry for it not to cut through, but that's nothing to worry about. We'll deal with that when the subdivision comes. Okay, so that's a rough shape. Just going to move these backwards. There we go, perhaps in a little bit. Move that one in so it shapes a bit better. There we go. Okay, so that's a rough kind of corset basking type shape. So now I'm just going to press C, which is going to subdivide but leave my control mesh at the same resolution, and then I'm going to start moving these out to get a better bit. Let's poke through. Let's get that out of her belly button. When I've got as far of that as I can without leaving too much poke, I'll refine the mesh and subdivide again. Now I could not refine the mesh, but that's going to be a little bit counterproductive, because I'm not going to get the control I want. The further you go, the more control you're going to need, because otherwise you're only going to be able to multiply the a limited number of points. So you can see here we've got some points that have disappeared inside her. Now if you select her, right click, display mode, ghosted shade mode, when we select the cube back again we can see those points now, and then move them and adjust them. I'm going to move these down a bit, I think, because that would be a nicer shape. There we go. Move that one down a little bit to get a bit of curve. Okay. So I'm going to refine the mesh now, so it's subdivision, refine, and then I get more points to move. And then start moving those points around to get a more sensible shape out of it. It's just a question of being quite patient here, really. The more subdivisions down you go, the more patient you'll need to be, unfortunately. I'm not a very patient man, so that's quite hard for me. But I'm sure you'll grin and bear it much better than I do. With better grace, at least. So I'm not going to get too fussy with this, because limited amount of time in which to show you stuff because of video limitations, but that's more or less it, and it's a case of going further and further. So I'm going to hit C again to subdivide it, and then start moving stuff around. You'll see that it has a more curved shape between things. Just getting the points are the important things to have outside the mesh. As the subdivision gets further and further, you've got more and more polygons, and you'll be able to hide more and more of the mesh underneath. But until you have more polygons, you're a bit limited in that respect. So I'm just going all around, just making sure that everything's more or less as it should be. So all the points are outside the mesh, even if the polygons are inside. I've got to that point. Now I can refine the mesh again. Now I've got more points to play with, and I'm covering up more and more of the mesh as we go. So it's just working around, being very patient, tolerant, which I'm not. Adding a bit of shape here and there to make it a nicer garment. I think I can probably get up a little bit. And that's more or less the essence of it, really. It's just keep going and going and going until it fits properly. And when you're ready, subdivide again. You'll basically be doing this until you've either got a mesh resolution that you don't want to make any more dense, or it fits perfectly. Hopefully it will fit perfectly before you're running into millions of polygons. That should happen, in all honesty. There's no real need for too many polys. It depends just how desperately smooth you want it to be. There we go. It's more or less there. Not very elegant, not very shaped, but I mean that is the fundamentals behind box modelling. Add a box, move the shape, get it fitting, subdivide it, move and fit, subdivide it, move and fit, subdivide it, move and fit, and eventually you'll have the shape you want. I hope that was vaguely useful. Again, this is Silo, but I've done nothing here that you couldn't do in another poly modeler. It's just slightly different shortcut keys or commands, or occasionally different terminology, but that's more or less it. So I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions or queries, contact me through Rendo mail. Enjoy.